Hello and welcome back. My name is Randy Scamihorn, and this is the Chairman's Brief. Thank you for joining me for another episode as we talk about how Cobb Schools and the Cobb Board works for you. This week we will be joined by our first guest, Cobb Schools Chief Human Resources Officer, Keely Bowen. As a reminder, before Keely and I talk about teaching and leading in Cobb Schools, the superintendent and his staff run the 23rd largest district in the country, and the Cobb School Board is 7 individual members who represent our county. As board chair, I am the spokesperson for the school board and can tell you that Cobb Schools provide some of the very best schools in the nation. As a board, we are proud of every Cobb student and our teachers who are doing some of the most difficult and important work in the entire county. Thank you for making Cobb one of the best places in the country to live, work, and raise a family. And now, Chief Human Resources Officer Keely Bowling. Keely, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Let's get right to it.
Great.
How's that?
Perfect.
Before we get started, as you lead the Human Resources Department for the largest employer in Cobb, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am a product of the school system. I graduated from North Cobb High School, and so I went to Kennesaw State for my undergrad, and we are the proud parents of 3 Cobb School students. And from a professional side, I started my career as a parapro in Cobb County. I worked with students with autism. I worked with students who had intellectual disabilities, and then ended up into a teaching position. Taught several years, served in a variety of capacities under special education, again supporting students with autism and behavior disorders, and amongst other things. I've served in a variety of capacities at I think last count was maybe 15 schools, 16 schools over the last several years. But I love what I do, and I love this district, and certainly having a family that attends the schools, and both my husband and I being products of Cobb, we're very proud of the district and the area in which we live.
Great. Our community hears a lot about one team, one goal. Is that just a corporate slogan, or does it mean something to you and to us as the employees of the organization?
It's definitely not just a slogan. The goal is student success. And so without them, we would not be here. And so no, it's definitely not a slogan. It's something that I certainly live by, and I feel like everyone in Cobb does, regardless, of what role they play.
We hear a lot about how important staff is for students. I've heard the superintendent say our schools are great because we have great teachers. If teachers are so important, how do we know how our teachers are doing, and how many teachers stay teaching in Cobb year after year?
So that is an excellent question, especially now with what's going on in our world with the pandemic. And I'll tell you, I think, as a parent even, and when we were in this virtual setting, I mean, my hats were always off to our teachers. I've always been in awe of them, regardless of what my capacity was, but certainly right now, and they are working incredibly hard. But again, it all goes back to the one team, one goal. They know what it takes to help our students be successful.
Is everyone evaluated and reviewed to see as far as their performance?
Yes, everyone has some sort of evaluation system, but I'll tell you that shifted over the last several years. It's not necessarily a satisfactory needs improvement evaluation anymore. Our new system, if you will, is an effectiveness system. And so what we want to do is to improve everyone's effectiveness. I think you had said in the last chairman's brief, we're not perfect, but we're always trying to be better and trying to improve. And I think that actually totally aligns with the evaluation. You never want to just settle for what you're doing. You always want to do better and to be better, because bottom line, it's for the kids, again, regardless of your role. And so, and in terms of the teachers who come back year after year, I'm excited to share that we just recently finished up our contracts for our contracted employees, and we had 97.7% of our teachers sign contracts. And what I also can say to that is we had over 70% sign contracts just within the first 5 days. And what the general public may not know is part of that was over February break. And so even teachers were eager and excited at that point. And so I think 97.7% of teachers signing contracts, especially during a pandemic, speaks highly to our organization and to our district, and certainly hands down to our leader, Mr. Ragsdale.
Good. Now, as a very large organization, we have a chain of command, if I can use that. Whether you're a custodian or a bus driver or a beginning teacher, veteran teacher. But having said that we're very large, does HR provide an avenue where teachers can feel comfortable in bringing concerns to you?
Here's the thing. I would hope so. I would hope that folks would know that I'm approachable. But what I would also encourage anyone in the district to do is go to your supervisor. If you have questions or concerns, that's a great first step, because I would say a majority of the time it comes down to miscommunication if it's something that someone's upset about. But I would feel like that would certainly be a first step. You referenced chain of command. I think that's going to be in any kind of industry, but I think after some respectful conversation, depending again on what that concern might be, absolutely. And there certainly are some formal steps for things that would be policy related, and our employees can access that through our admin rules and policies.
It's always important, and especially during our trying times now with COVID-19, when there's so much going on, so much change. What opportunities does our staff have to provide input and make their voices heard?
Again, I think that it really starts at the department, division, or school level. And so by going to their supervisor, going to their direct report, whatever it may be, I think that's going to be the best avenue. And certainly I would hope that folks would trust that then those messages and questions are then delivered to the right department and to the right division, and we do our best to address those, whether it is individually or as a whole. One example is the vaccines. We've heard certainly that our teachers want to be vaccinated, and we were excited to hear that's going to be rolling out by our governor, and so working really hard to make sure that we can provide that opportunity for those who choose to do so. So, again, I think it really goes back to, if there are questions or concerns, the best avenue is your direct report, your supervisor.
How do we get information out to such a large organization? Mm-hmm. And I understand the information may be varied.
Sure.
But what comes to mind, like if, as the chief of HR, if you needed to get something out to approximately 18,000 employees, mm-hmm. and of course, about 8,000 of those are teachers and parapros, and I'm using very general numbers, as you know. But tell me a little bit about that.
What we try to do is really try to streamline that, and so whether it is me reaching out to another department to say, is there something that we need to communicate, and try to do it all in one email versus sending various emails from various different folks in various different divisions. As an HR department, I can speak directly to that, and we have something that we send out to our principals and directors and our leaders every week, and we make sure that information is current and relevant to the time. And so I'll be very honest, some of that information, we ask that then principals and directors then share that with those that it may apply to. So to say that that a direct email would go, to all 18,000 employees from HR. I don't know that would happen on a regular basis, because we try to be very intentional about who we give information to and how we share it. But again, I feel like it goes all the way back to being respectful of folks' time and the number of emails, because they're certainly very busy, in our schools right now with our teachers and our principals.
I'm glad you said you want to be very intentional with the information you put out. And would you agree that the reason for that, and you can expand on this if you want, is that the one thing we don't want to do is to create confusion whenever we're trying to get important information out?
I wholeheartedly agree with that. By being intentional with our information and making sure that it's clear and concise, I think you get a better audience that way. So absolutely.
Great. Now I checked my calendar recently, and we're in March.
Yes.
That, and my experience tells me that's we're in the hiring season, and new graduates or teachers from other districts may be looking for a teaching position. Where can they go to learn more about working in Cobb schools?
So you are exactly right. We are approaching that time, and it's certainly very exciting, and a very exciting time for our Human Resources Department. And so in the next week or so, we're going to be sharing some information about an upcoming job fair. It's at the end of March. It's going to be virtual this year, which is very exciting that we're able to do. So we're getting everything together with that now. Our principals are getting their virtual site set up, if you will. But yeah, we do. We're excited to enter this season of hiring, and we're getting ready. So yeah, I would say folks could look to have some information probably within the next week or so.
Oh, good. Now, since we have 97% or more people coming back, that doesn't leave a lot of room for openings. So, and I don't know that we'd ever be totally full as large as we are, but even if not realistically, theoretically, if we were totally full of our employees, can they still go and make applications?
Absolutely. And what I will say right now, if I can encourage anyone, is to go ahead and get their application started. That we just recently went to a new application system. And so if they applied previously in what we called Talent Ed, that information unfortunately could not be transferred over to our new applicant tracker. And so once they get their profile set up, then all they would have to do then is to access our system, and when they see a job that speaks to them and something that they're interested in, all they have to do is add that particular posting to their existing profile. Good. So absolutely, I would say folks could go ahead and get started on that.
How long can I leave my application dormant?
I don't know that there's a day that it would drop necessarily, but I would keep it as current as they can. And so perhaps they apply for a job today and they aren't able to get it, but then a job pops up again in June. There might be some gaps to fill in on their application just to continually keep it current. But they can always go on there and edit and amend their application. But at this point, I'm unaware of a drop-off time, if you will.
What are the advancement opportunities and leadership development for our current employees? What can you speak to about that?
If folks are out there thinking right now, maybe in the next couple years I could see myself either in a leadership position or thinking about applying for Aspiring Leader Academy, we offer twice a year. It's an informational Pathways to Leadership meeting. And so one's in November and one's in February. Last year, I think between the two sessions, which were face-to-face prior to COVID, we had about 70 participants, which was huge. When we went to the virtual setting, we certainly took that into consideration when we scheduled the one this last November and then the one last month. We had over 200 folks tune in and listen, and that's open and available to anyone in the districts who is considering leadership. And through that Pathways informational meeting, we do just that. We explain pathways. What does it require in terms of classroom experience? What does it require in terms of certification? What does a path look like? And then built within that informational session, it's about an hour and a half, we also invite other leaders, first-year assistant principals, first-year principals, some district leaders to share their journey, to share their pathway, because everyone is different.
Great, and you really covered it well. One of the things that come to mind that you said, where sometimes people will go to the academy and they realize it's not the path they want to take, but they could also, and you mentioned this too, and I wanted to stress it, talk to your principal or even your department chair, or your, we don't have department chairs, I don't believe, at the elementary level, but talk to your team leader and see what you can volunteer for to get some experience and get started in that regard.
Absolutely.
So, we need leaders. Superintendent often says we have two types of employees, those who teach and those who support those who teach. Is Cobb hiring those support roles as well?
Yes, I would. The immediate answer to that is absolutely. We are always hiring for classified and certified. So I certainly feel like our district leads by that as well. Those who teach and those who support those who teach. So we hire anywhere from 700 to 1,000 teachers every year, and I believe anywhere from maybe 500 to 600 support staff every year. So those positions are there, and I think you referenced a while back the 97.7% who sign contracts. That doesn't necessarily mean there won't be openings. It doesn't necessarily mean there's only going to be 3%. Anything can happen, but we certainly have postings, and I anticipate having openings this year.
Okay, I certainly have enjoyed talking with you today, and you've taught me a lot of things and reminded me of many things too. Well, thank you, Keely, for providing your insights today. And I thank you for joining us. I hope our time together has been useful in helping you understand a little bit more about working with Cobb Schools and what makes our team the very best in the state and country. It is because of our community and staff that this county is truly the best place to teach, lead, and learn. And we hope to see all of you next week for another interview with a very interesting person. Have a good week.